Hello.
Hello, I think we're live. Yeah.
Yeah, we're live.
I think we are. You know how bad at this I am. Yeah, so welcome everybody. We are here to talk about By Force Alone, which we're representing both sides of the pond here. I have the UK edition, that's the US edition, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we're here to do. I'm Leanna, which you know because you're on my channel. And this is Amanda, my lovely monthly buddy reader from The Naughty Librarian. If I did my job, her channel's linked down below. No promises. I'm pretty sure I did.
We'll find out.
Alrighty then. So, if y'all have been watching our live shows, is it the last 2 months in a row that I didn't like the book and Amanda did?
Probably.
I think so. And those have been 2, and I think it's 2 in a row. So
yeah, I think this is our fourth show.
Yeah. Well, I think we decided to switch things up. And this time I love it. And Amanda hates it.
This is the rare show where Leanna loves the book. And yep. I gave it 1.5 stars in my in my like review rubric. Like 1 star is ugh. And 2 stars is like, it had its moments. And this book, when I finished it, I'm like, ugh, like it almost had some moments. So it gets 1.5 stars. I rounded up to 2 because 2020 is hard enough. Everyone gets extra stars. So
I think we would both agree that the way that it was like pitched, like the elevator pitch for the book, is not accurate. Like it's accurate in that it's a King Arthur story. So like that is true. It is a King Arthur story, but like that's about as accurate. That's like the only part that's accurate.
Yeah, so. I feel also like I'm probably a bit distinctly predisposed to not like it. Because it came to me last night why I don't like the writing style, because I really dislike the writing style.
I know. You really hated it.
I figured it out. It's as if a Joe Abercrombie book was written by Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh, I've never read Vonnegut, and I've heard such mixed things about Vonnegut.
Here's the deal. Kurt Vonnegut. Respect where respect is due, because I feel like he created a new type of writing style, which is a lot like the writing style in this book. So respect. I don't personally like it. Like Slaughterhouse-5, you haven't read it. But like what you think it's about is not what it's about. I'll tell you right now. It's goddamn aliens and time travel.
Yeah, no, I did not know that.
So, and it's the same type of writing style where it's just very much like, it makes me feel like a 7-year-old is telling me a story, because it's just like event with no like subtext. And I mean, a lot of people like Kurt Vonnegut. So I feel like if you like Kurt Vonnegut and you like Joe Abercrombie, this is going to be an excellent book for you. Personally, I like Abercrombie, but for different reasons than this book has. And I don't like Kurt Vonnegut. So
what is kind of interesting is when I was like, I looked up the author, like, I think before I started reading it, because I was like, is this like a debut? Like, I've never heard of this author before. And it's not a debut, but it's like a debut in terms of like something that would be shelved in like epic high adult fantasy. Like he's written speculative fiction before, but nothing like this. Like this area is not what he did before. So like I think he wrote something with like something to do with like a speculative fiction thing with like something in London with possibly aliens. I don't know. But like he's like done other weird type stuff. And so like I feel like it's like somebody entering like a genre from a different, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a
trying their hand at something different, but bringing in their sensibilities and writing style from a different, something that we don't usually see.
Yeah, it's just, personally, I don't think Kurt Vonnegut's style lends itself to a Joe Abercrombie book, obviously. But, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people like this, and probably a lot of people dislike it. I don't know. It's a very distinct writing style. And if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, then you're just like,
I mean, I will say, and because I wanted to do it when it was fresh in my brain. So I filmed like a review that it hasn't gone up yet or anything, but I wanted to like get it in the can, like right after I read it, while all the like stuff was in my head. And like, I like said in that review that I was like, there were times when I was like, do I hate this or do I love it? Like, this is very weird. Like, I don't know which way I feel about it right now. And like, I ended up falling on the side of loving it, but it was like on a knife's edge where I was just like, this is so weird. Like, everything about this, like, I don't know what it's doing. And then I was like, I think, you know, like when you eat a food that has like a really distinct flavor and you're like, the more you eat it, you're like, I think I like it. That was kind of me reading this book where I was like, this is a distinct flavor. Where I was just like, okay, I think I'm acquiring the taste.
Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, it was a hate read, I'll admit. I like had to read another book in between reading this. Like I would
Out
read
of curiosity, what did you read?
Breath of Fire by Amanda Boucher, which is fantasy romance, and it's just like it's like Alona Andrews, which you didn't like. So
I've only read one Alona Andrews, so perhaps that was the wrong one to read. I could still like possibly other.
I mean, it's kind of the same vibe in all of the books, so I don't think it would translate. But
Mara's convinced that which one she sent. Clean Sweep is that?
Oh, Clean Sweep. Oh, the Innkeeper one. Mm-hmm. The Innkeeper series?
That's Alona.
I haven't read that one. Yeah, I haven't read that series actually.
Mara thinks I'd like that. So I don't know why specifically she was like, that would be better for you. I have no idea because I haven't read it yet.
It's like an innkeeper of it's kind of like a John Wick hotel where it's like I don't know, neutral ground for all these magical creatures, and she like runs the inn.
Oh yeah, I think that is ringing bells from the blurb.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be like, I don't know, murder.
And sex. Probably sex.
Yeah, sex and murder as well.
All the spicy things.
Yeah. So I would read one day of By Force Alone, and then I would read one day of Breath of Fire, and then like it helped me get through By Force Alone if I like took a day off and read something else.
So did you do the audio at all for By Force Alone, or just reading it?
Audio.
All audio, or like back and forth?
Back and forth.
Because I don't know how you felt about it. Did you like the narrator?
I've heard the narrator do other books before.
I think I have too.
And I like the narrator in general. I just feel like there's not enough direction on the page. So I feel like the audiobook was like, okay, here you go. It's like a Harold Pinter play where if you read a Harold Pinter script, there's very few words on the page, and it's all about what the director and the actors want to say with the context. And there's so little context in the book. I feel like the narrator's just trying to like, I think this is how they feel. Like trying to do it. So I felt like this hesitation in the narrator. I don't know. It wasn't his best work.
Did you? I mean, I did think the narrator was like. There's often times where I feel like a narrator is like a mismatch for a book. Like I think he was a good fit for this book. Like, yeah, I think he's a good narrator for it. Damn it! What else? This is what I get for going to bed at 4 a.m. I had a different thing to say. What was I gonna say? Damn it! It was a question for you too.
It'll come to you. It'll come to you. I'm drinking all of the cold brew. I'm going to be awake until forever, so I'm having a great time.
Yeah, I'm having a whole pot of coffee. Hopefully that will wake me up.
No.
I decided in honor of my...
It's cold brew too.
I decided in honor
so I went out
going to bed at 4 a.m. I figured I'd wear my I'll sleep when I'm dead sweatshirt because it seems like if there's a day to wear it, this is the day.
This is the day. I selected a passage to illustrate my point with the writing style. Like kind of what we were talking about right now with subtext. Let me read it for the audience.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So this is a random paragraph, not really a spoiler. It says, the lady smiles. The lady opens wide her arms, the better to embrace him. Lamorak screams. Lamorak passes through her ghostly form. Lamorak falls. A small black spot against the whiteness of the foam.
I don't know if you are for everyone else, but you're kind of like, the audio is cutting in and out. So like it's making the text that you hate all worse because we're only getting every other word.
Okay. Take 2. The lady smiles. The lady opens wide her arms, the better to embrace him. Lamorak screams. Lamorak passes through her ghostly form. Lamorak falls, a small black spot against the whiteness of the foam that rises from the waves. His bones break on the jagged rocks. His body sinks beneath the waves. A current under sea picks his bones and whispers. The lady turns. The lady smiles. That's exactly as it is written. Do you know what that small passage is almost entirely devoid of? Adjectives. In fact, the only adjectives there describe the scenery. So I was like, give me something. You're just telling me this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. The lady smiles. He screams. He fell. And then she smiled again. Like, it's like a 7-year-old.
Like that style of the narrative, combined with the fact that in the book he kept using the phrase "by force alone, by force alone, by force." Like he kept coming back to it, like it's like the thesis of the book. And because of the like sort of bare bones, like almost like just like well, I don't know how to describe it, but like the like what you just read actually illustrates it. How to me it almost felt like it's.
You're frozen. You said it's, and then there's nothing.
Black for you. Wait, we're back.
Yeah, your picture's frozen. There you are.
There you are.
Like, okay. And then you paused, and it was like this very like long anticipatory wait. So what was it?
So dramatic. Okay, so yeah. So I was saying like the writing style combined with the repetition of By Force Alone to me reminded me of like reading something like Beowulf or the Iliad or like an epic saga poem type thing, which like that type of literature or that type like storytelling is more devoid of feeling and more devoid of like fleshing out characters. It is more like when you hear about what Odysseus is doing, it is like that where it's like he did the thing and then he did this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it felt almost, I don't know if the author intentionally did that, but that's how it felt to me.
I mean, it's definitely a choice. I think this is a very distinct writing style. And I mean, if you like it, then you like it. For me, it makes it very difficult I discern plot in books through the subtext and being inside the character's brain and like emoting with them. Like, I could tell you like chronologically what happened in this book, but I don't know what the plot was. Like, what was like the arc? Like, why were these things happening?
Oh, but so I did remember what I had lost briefly when my brain went dead. I am not like an expert in any way on like Arthurian myth and lore, and I was wondering if you know like more about like the stories that he's basing this on and playing with.
Did you have an afterword in your book? I
never pay attention to once the story's over. I'm just like, it's over. Goodreads, I finished it.
There's an afterword, at least in the American version, and he talks about how he like looked up which manuscripts and which original text and tried to like use them, and with the history like of Christianity coming to Britain in AD 535 in the Dark Ages. So like he gets into it a bit in the afterword. It was actually kind of useful.
I don't think I have an after. Oh wait, no, there it is.
Just you know, okay. Yeah, he talks about it in there. So he does like go with a lot of the original texts. I don't know.
I just wondering because I mean, like the afterword, I'm assuming just kind of says that he did that. I'm just wondering, like, if somebody who's like really familiar with like all the story beats in the typical, like in the what we have, like what's come to be like the canonical like Arthur story. Like, I'm just wondering because I was getting the sense that there was a lot of like playing with that. And if you have expectations based on knowing the myth, that you would be recognizing where he's subverting it and where he is using it. You know what I mean? So like there's little pieces, obviously, like I know who like the Lady of the Lake is, and like I know that Excalibur is a thing, and I watched Sword in the Stone as a kid. Like I know some things to be like, I know that thing. But like I was getting this sense, and I was wondering like if you were more expert on Arthur, if you were like, yeah, I know Arthur and he fucked it up. You know what
I mean? I haven't read the original source material, but I've read so many other things. Like I know a lot of the Knights of the Round Table and their individual stories and their names. And like, I know a big part of the Arthur legend was they were searching for the Holy Grail, as what happened in this book a bit, except in this book, the Grail is aliens. But
it is aliens.
In the Arthurian legend, is the actual cup. So that's a bit different, you know. Kung Fu Lancelot in By Force Alone. Kung Fu Lancelot looking for aliens. But no, there's like and they kind of like briefly mention all these knights and they put them in different contexts and stuff. But I mean, Arthur isn't like such a piece of shit in his own story, I'll tell you that. This one, he's just like, fuck books, I want to swing my sword. And that's like the most emotional depth he got. They didn't really like build him an inner world.
True, which is I mean, I feel like our like intro into the story, or like the eyes through which we saw it, if we did at all, was Merlin. Merlin was more the person who was like, if we felt things, it was what Merlin was feeling about them more often than not. So like Merlin's perspective on Arthur and what Arthur could do, the fact of Arthur, rather than the Arthur the person, because you get the sense that Merlin doesn't especially care about Arthur the person, because he's kind of a piece of shit. Yeah. He's like, I have a project. I am creating a myth for England, and you, sir, I feel like you would be helpful in this endeavor.
Well, I think he also just wants Arthur to be greater and better and more powerful, because Merlin is literally eating him. That's how he's
feeding off of his power.
Yeah, that's how he gets sustenance for his body, by feeding off greatness and energy of kings and power and stuff. That's how he like. That's kind of like the Fae in this book. That's how they receive their nutrition, is by feeding off power. So
succubuses.
Yeah, and they had the ladies, the Fae ladies, having their little like bitch fest, and they're like, we pick this guy and that guy, and they're all trying to get a guy to have more power so they can eat better. And I'm like, okay. And then Merlin's whole like mood for the whole book is, this fucking guy, all right. Like, that seems to be his whole emotion for the book.
See, that's where it kind of also again reminded me of things like the Iliad or things like that, where I feel like in a lot of Greek stuff, you have the gods who like pick the human that they're kind of rooting for, and they kind of like, you know, mess with stuff to try to like put things in favor of the person they're rooting for whatever godly reasons they have. So like, again, like the style of the narrative, the repetition of By Force Alone, the like bare bones of it, the fact that these like deity-like things are kind of messing with things for their own ends, and not really like, because they're like, for the betterment of the world, that it is our job to make better. No, they're just like, this is my horse in this race, and I'm gonna make him win.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I gave it 1.5 stars, because I'm like, ugh, for the most part. But I'm like, you know, it almost had some moments. Like, there was some concepts I thought were cool. What I thought the book was I liked, but it wasn't that. So the original
like where the elevator pitch.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be actually a narrative about Arthur, and it's kind of really not about Arthur all that much. I thought it was going to be more of a traditional narrative, and this one is like more so almost non-linear. It's like, oh, this is happening and that's happening, and like Arthur's barely in it, honestly. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe my expectations were skewed, and I thought it was going to be something completely different than it was, because I thought it was going to be like, we're on a journey with these characters. And I didn't feel like we were. I feel like I was just watching the journey, because I was like seeing what was happening, but like I wasn't in it with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that again, like, even though like our opinion in the end was different, we both 100% agree that the elevator pitch this was not what it was sold to be. So like I ended up liking it. Like, what it's like, if we ordered at a restaurant and like we didn't get what we ordered, but I was like, yeah, but you know what? I think I like this. And you were like, I didn't order this. What is this? This is disgusting. So,
which I don't know. I think if we actually went to a restaurant, I think I would be like, all right, well, I'm gonna eat this. I think I'd be more chill about it, and you'd be like, no. Which is, well, I mean,
being vegan, I'd be like, I did not order bacon. I'm not fucking eating bacon.
Well, yeah, if there's me, I'd be like, I think you really messed up. But if it's just something else, I'd be like, I guess I'm eating this today. Starbucks, all the time they mess up my order, so I just like, I never know what I'm gonna get when I go to Starbucks. I like, most of the time I never get what I ordered. I'm like, do I order wrong? So I'm just like, oh.
It's just their black coffee. I watch them get the black coffee from the pre-stuff, then like, here you go. No room for cream. Done. Can't mess that up unless you try real hard.
Someone asked us to repeat their ratings for the book.
Oh, I gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 1.5 stars. So we have differing opinions.
Yep.
I rounded up to 2 officially.
We have someone wwho like very much agrees with you.
Yeah, I think they said that on Instagram too. I think I saw that comment there too. She's like, "Oh, good luck," and I was like, "I know." I didn't want to say it on Instagram because I wanted it to be a surprise how I felt about it, but I was like, "Yeah, no." It was a rough one.
Yeah, it's looking like. Let's see. Yeah, we have. This is why I'm bad at moderating. I can't talk and do this at the same time.
That's okay.
But yeah, I could only get through 50%.
It's a very distinct writing style and storytelling style. So I feel like if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you really don't. It's one of those. It's a very distinct flavor, like star anise. Like you either like it or you're just like, oh, what is this demon herb? Like
it's like cilantro.
Yeah, some people think it tastes like soap. Some people think it's just nice and herby. So
for you, it was soap.
Yes. Oh, I like cilantro in real life. I think it's herby tasting. I like it.
Oh, we've got another one for you. That's funny too. I feel like last week. Oh my God, what's time? Last month.
Everyone agreed.
When I hated it, people agreed with me, and this month you hate it, everyone agrees with you. So it seems like people hate everything we're picking. But I was gonna say, like, I would say, generally speaking, that I would consider myself to be a character-driven reader. I tend to prefer character-driven stories. So for that reason, like, I'm surprised that I like this book as much as I did, because it is absolutely not that. To your point, like, you're not really so much in the headspaces of the characters. It's not really like, it's not like it's trying and failing. It was not even on the table of options. Like, yeah, that wasn't one of the ingredients ever.
I could see why you would like it. Like I mentioned earlier, for anyone who wasn't here at the top of the show, this book is basically if a Joe Abercrombie story was written by Kurt Vonnegut, which personally I'm like, nailed it. I think that's an excellent analogy. Fight me. Like, I'm not taking it back.
I've never read Vonnegut, so I'll just take your word for it. Now when I read Vonnegut, I'll be like, this reminds me of By Force Alone.
Like, respect
By Force Alone did first.
But no, it's just like the general, like, okay, remember the heroes from Joe Abercrombie? Of course you do. So like, you wouldn't. But it's probably our least favorite Abercrombie. I think we share that opinion. And I felt like a lot of the vibe from the heroes was in this book. So I was like, I wonder if she's going to like this. Because basically, ultimately, all of the story was pointless in the end. It was just like, well, oh, well. The king is dead, long live the king. Essentially is the point of the book. The king is dead, long live the king. You know, it's always going to be some new upstart. So I don't know. It was kind of like that Abercrombie nihilism that I think you really like. It had, like, I could see it in the book. That's why I gave it 1.5 star. Like, it almost had some moments. Like, I see that.
So for me, I think it was because it did. So you did Abercrombie, but Vonnegut or whatever. So like in my like version of that was like if Abercrombie decided to write like a myth akin to like Beowulf or the Iliad, and was like he recently watched Stranger Things and was like also that.
And Kung Fu, because, you know, why not? Although I did kind of like Kung Fu Lancelot. Like, honestly, I would have wanted just to read about Kung Fu Lancelot, the whole book.
Yeah, I did like Lancelot. I mean, well, I liked the whole book. So.
Yeah. He was Jewish, which was interesting. And brown.
Well, just the whole, like, I just, the way that he,
Middle East.
The way that he, being the author, played with the idea of like, introducing like I don't know, like science but not science, like in a way where just like the way that like mythical things and magic cannot coexist with like science, and like the way that the Grail might even play into that, and the fact that there's that conversation that Lancelot recalls having with his mentor, where there's the like, you know, that angels might be aliens because they come from the sky, which is like, if that's where they're coming from, what the fuck are angels? And then like, if that's where the Grail came from, what the fuck is that? And like that, okay, so it legit reminded me of the Styx song, "Come Sail Away." And they're like, we thought that they were angels, but to my surprise, they climbed aboard their starship and headed for the skies.
That's the song for the book.
Alone.
I was trying to come up with a song for the book.
That's the song.
That's the song. Like, I had a song picked, but that's just because I was listening to it nonstop while also reading this book. And it doesn't really have a lot to do with the book, but I just really like it. By the way, if you're interested, it's called the song is called Daisy. It's by Ashniko, and it's a really good song. I like it better than the book.
Well, if you were listening to it over and over, I would imagine that it was a choice.
It's a very
you were like,
song.
Since I hate the book, I'm also going to put on a song I hate to fit my mood.
It's kind of, you can make an argument that it fits with the book as well.
I mean, you can make an argument for anything. I think that's what like debate clubs do.
Fair point.
No, I will say, like, so like I ended up liking this obviously, but like I also still want the book that I thought this was going to be. Like, I still want that itch scratched. Like, I liked this fine, but I'm like, okay, but I'm still ready for that Guy Ritchie, King Arthur, Charlie Hunnam book. Like, I would like someone to still do that.
That's what I wanted. That's what I fucking wanted in this, and I didn't get it, and it just hurt my feelings. Like, we both love that movie, and no one likes it, but we both like it a lot. And okay, that brings me to my next point of this. There's so many scenes in this book that are directly out of Goodfellas that I was like, oh my God, why? I believe at one point I forgot to mark it when I was reading it. There was one point, I swear someone said, all Arthur's life, all he wanted to be was a gangster. I swear they said that in the book, which is like the opening line of Goodfellas. I was like, it's just blatant plagiarism.
I've never actually seen Goodfellas, so okay.
That is the opening line of Goodfellas. He's like, all my life, all I ever wanted was to be a gangster. That's the opening line of Goodfellas. And it's like literally in the book. And they have the whole fuck you pay me scene from Goodfellas where he's going out and like collecting, you know, like rent money, which is like, you know, payoff money. And they have that whole scene in there where he's like, the rent's fucking due. And it's like Ray Liotta saying, fuck you, pay me. There's the whole scene in Goodfellas like that. There's a scene where, I forget his name, the porno guy, the guy who became a knight, but he owned all the porn theaters.
Galahad?
No, it wasn't Galahad.
It wasn't Galahad, but it did start with a G.
Was it Gawain? I forget which guy it was. I didn't care, but
it was started with a G for sure.
Yeah, it was him, and yeah, they had a scene where him and the guy who was like his de facto little brother, and he was just like he was so excited he was going to get made. There's a whole scene in Goodfellas. There's a whole scene. It's Al Pacino and Ray Liotta sitting at a diner, so excited Joe Pesci's about to get made. And it's like, am I watching Goodfellas in the medieval times? So,
yeah, I feel like this is something like that, those close references, which like I've never seen Goodfellas, so that was lost on me. But I feel like if you like a book, then you like those references. And if you hate a book, you're like, how dare you? You know what I mean? Because like Joe Abercrombie, Joe Abercrombie, like he has his 3 standalones, Best Served Cold, The Heroes, and Red Country, which are all based on movies, and he's been explicit about that. So like, but we like those books, so we're like, oh, how clever.
Oh, you told me what movie Red Country was based on, and I forget.
Unforgiven.
Oh yeah, I like Unforgiven, and I like Red Country's my favorite Abercrombie. I know it's no one else's, but I like it a lot.
But see, like I think if you hated Red Country, you'd be like, how dare you plagiarize Unforgiven? You know?
Well, it like very loosely is related to Unforgiven. Like it's very loosely related.
I do think the author of By Porcelain was trying to kind of make the point that our heroicized, you know, cultural, you know, collective history myth or whatever is heroicized and chivalric and everything, and making the point that like
it's actually not
kind of gangsters. They were just like killing people and trying to take power, and like it's more similar to gangsters than like Mr. Darcy in the night, you know, in Shining Armor. So like, I think he was intentionally sort of like how A Knight's Tale was like, these people who were knights were kind of like rock stars. So let's like actually legit make them basically rock stars. I feel like he was doing the same where he was like, they were more like gangsters. So I'm literally going to make them gangsters.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like I said, 1.5, that's that 0.5 where I'm like, yeah, you almost had some moments where like, I get it. But like, did I like the execution of it? No. But I did like, they were like, okay, you know what? People who seize power aren't doing it through hugs and kittens. Like they're doing it by swinging a sword, and then
they're doing it
after because that's what they did in the book.
They're doing it by force alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's an aptly named book.
Yeah, they gain power by being ruthless and by force. They're not getting it by being nice to people. And then there's so many orgies in this book. Like it's like sword fight, drug deal, orgy, talking orgy, sword fight, orgy. I'm king now. There's the beginning of the book, guys.
I don't think it was like so many orgies specific, but there were just like a lot of dicks being whipped out. Like they weren't necessarily like a whole room full of dicks, but there were many
in the orgy there
being
was.
Whipped out.
There's several orgies. There were so many orgies.
Like, which again, they were kind of like very Abercrombie-esque in the telling, where they're like, here is like genitalia that is being pleasured, and I'm telling you point by point the IKEA instructions of what occurred.
I wish I got more from Kay's perspective, because I think
Kay,
he was like the only character that I felt like I really got to know emotionally.
And Merlin.
Because I mean, Arthur's first introduced, it's not being told from Arthur's perspective, it's being told from Kay's perspective, who is like Arthur's adoptive brother. Well, Arthur's adopted, so whatever. They're brothers. And I really liked Kay's story, and Kay's throughout the whole book, and he actually is, I don't know. Out of everyone in the book, I think he might be the most chivalrous, which isn't really saying much.
Also, he was gay.
He was gay. And oh my gosh, in the final battle scene, and they just like glossed over it, when like his like lifelong love just died in his arms, and you're just like, okay, and moving on. And they're like, fuck that scene. So 1.5, there's like, it almost had some moments. Like I liked Kay. I like the idea of Kung Fu Lancelot, because why not?
Well, just in general, like when we were in Lancelot's chapters and we were getting more pieces of like where he came from, how he was trained, why the F he was interested in the Grail in the first place, like what his end game was. Like I just found that whole thing, I was like, that's why I was like really curious too about like more expertise on Arthur mythos. Like I was wondering if like there are some kind of seeds in the actual original Arthur story where you could take those seeds and like vastly infer something that's like like not really there, but like, you know, like where like what he did with Lancelot could like, if you really stretch it, be inferred somehow by the original legend, or if it was just like completely way out there, his own idea.
Well, I mean, in the original stories, Lancelot and Percival are the ones who are like hunting for the Grail. There's other guys there too, but those are the two main ones. I think Percival is actually the one who finds it. But Lancelot is a bit religious, I would say, in the originals. He's very much like if I'm doing a D&D character based off him, he's going to be a paladin. Like Lancelot's a paladin AF.
I don't play D&D, so I don't know what that means.
Paladin are religious knights.
Sounds like it, yeah. Again, my knowledge of King Arthur is basically The Sword and the Stone, the Guy Ritchie movie, and Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So, like, I'm not an expert.
Oh, it was Galahad. Sorry, I remember I marked a page with the porno guy. It's a scene about like 5 fucking years that I'm about to be made. And it's like that Goodfellas scene. I was like, God damn it, that Goodfellas scene. Yeah, but it's Galahad. So Galahad was the porno guy. Sorry, I just brought that back so I remembered his name.
But still, like, I genuinely, like, I mean, I know you were hate reading him, but I mean, even when I'm hate reading something, like, there'll be a scene where I'm just like, I still hate this book, but like this scene right now, you know, it's doing things. So like, I'm wondering, like, when they basically go to the Upside Down, because they basically go to the Upside Down.
They do. They do.
Like that part, because it was just, it was so bonkers and eerie that like I felt like I was the same way that I feel when I watch Stranger Things, and I'm just like, there's a Demogorgon. I was like,
again, I'm going back to my 1.5 where I'm just like,
That 0.5 encapsulates a lot.
It does. Otherwise, it would have been a 1. That 0.5 is saving it from like a lot of flaws because I'm just like, I get it, and there were some cool things in it, but it's just like nothing was ultimately explained. It was just kind of this weird little alluding thing. Like Lancelot is inside of a monster at one point, and you're just like, how did he get in there? How did he get out of there? All of a sudden, the spaceship leaves, and you're just like,
it was like
I have a lot more questions than answers.
It's like the ending of Rocky Horror Picture Show when then they all just go to outer space.
That makes more sense to me than this one did, because there was so much weird shit going on that wasn't really explained. You're just like, okay, this one they're like, yeah, they're aliens and also transvestites, and then they leave. And Rocky Horror, I get it. This one, I'm just like, all this stuff happened for just because it happened. I don't know why.
Yeah, again, like in the review that I filmed already, I was like, this book, like the thumbnail that I made for it just says this is a weird book. Like, because like it is, like it absolutely is, like it is a super duper specific niche acquired taste. You're like, and like, I feel like you have to respect the author for committing to these bonkers choices, and the editor and the publisher for being like, all right, dude, all
right,
if you want that, okay.
I mean, like I said, Kurt Vonnegut, that's writing style. And I mean, Kurt Vonnegut is a literary classic for a reason. A lot of people like it. I feel like, you know, it did start a new type of writing style. He kind of originated it, if I'm not mistaken. But if you like that, awesome. If you don't, you're just like, you really don't. Because it's just like, it's like black licorice.
We keep finding new foods to compare it to.
Yeah, well, star anise tastes like black licorice too, but I figured, I'm like, people might not know what star anise is. So I went to black licorice.
We've got anise, cilantro, bacon, blue cheese.
These things that are very distinct flavors, and you're just like, ugh. You either like or you don't like.
And I feel like because this book decided to make not just one weird choice, but several weird choices, it's like you have a dish that's composed of blue cheese, cilantro, star anise, and bacon. And you're like, this is definitely an interesting flavor profile.
That is a bowl of vomit. You can't put all of them together.
Wait, have you read Radiance by Grace Draven?
Yeah, you gave it to me and told me to read it. I did.
I know, but I feel like what was it? Intrigue Me that I was like berating you, and I was like, read it.
You did for both, and I read both.
Okay. Like, no, I don't know if anyone else will get this reference, but you know how like the Kai are disgusted by potatoes, and the humans are disgusted by that like scorpion pie.
Yeah.
And they both think both are disgusting, but they have that human neighbor who thinks that potatoes and that pie is a delightful combination and they should always be served together. And you're like, no one is happy about this except for you. That's what this book is. And I'm that human neighbor that's like, this combination is working for me.
Yeah. I'm just like, this is scorpion pie. And I'm like, you shouldn't put
the potato
though. No, I would eat the potato. I think this is scorpion pie.
Okay, so wait, let me do the thing of moderating and looking at comments.
Okay, let's add some comments.
I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. Okay. So we got people hating it.
People like it or hate it. I feel like there's no one who's like, yeah, it's all right. In the comments, it's a very you either like it or you don't like it.
Okay, so is it possible that some of the negative reaction is the story upends the once and future king, and it's might for right notion? The King's Camelot is not the expected Camelot. I mean, I think that was the author's intention.
Agreed.
Subverting that.
Yeah. But see, I like the Once and Future King though. Because I want to see characters. I mean, okay, this goes into the likability factor of characters. And there's a lot of characters I'm infinitely fascinated with that are very unlikable. I don't like them, but they're fascinating. So that being said, I need to have something in these characters that makes me want to root for them, even if what they're doing is terrible. And the writing style was so bare bones and just kind of event with not a lot of subtext. I didn't get enough stuff to root for these characters. So I was just kind of watching this happen and not like in it.
I feel like the sort of like the project of the book was, instead of like unpacking and examining like the messy layers of a person, It was unpacking and examining the nuanced and messy layers of a myth and of like the origins and like at what cost a myth like that comes to rise and how it gets changed by the telling. So like it's doing the same thing that an author would do with a character and saying it's all actually really messy and complicated, but not with character, just with the origin of a myth. So like it's not a character driven story for that reason. You just have to be into this whole project of breaking down and going bonkers, banana cuckoo crazy with this myth.
Yeah. No, like I get it. Like I get it. I didn't like it.
So I think I liked it because, so I would say I am a character-driven reader, but I think the reason that I liked this was because I am also an anthropology major, and anthropology is more often than not examining not individual people, but is examining the stories that unify them, like the folklore that makes them them and that they believe in, and then like examining and unpacking where that came from and whether it matters where it came from. So we did actually like, I don't know really anything about the Arthur story, like the events of the Arthur story, but I know a lot about, because we talked about Arthur as like the myth that defined a people and like what that meant for the people, but not like what the actual myth was. So like for me, because it's doing that, I was like, I don't really know anything about the actual like figures of the myth and what they're supposed to have done. But I do know that as a thing, it affected a great deal. So the fact that it's like going back and saying, well, this thing is like really gritty, messy, disgusting, festering thing. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I think that also, it really explains our difference here, because you're an anthropology major and I was a theater major. So my whole like thing, it was like getting into the psyche of characters.
Which generally is my jam, but
why I didn't like it. And you're in anthropology, so you're like, oh, I understand like the mythos building, and that's like that might be the extension, the exact thesis of why we have differing opinions.
I think that's also why I was like on the cusp. It was like hate or love, and I was like, I love character-driven stories, and this is absolutely not that, and it's balls to the wall crazy. But I do love examining a culture's origins, so it's the 4 stars.
Yep. And everyone hated the Anglo-Saxons. And then like now, I mean, we obviously know the Anglo-Saxons were like one of the major forces in Britain's history. And at this time, there's like, who are these fucking guys? Like they all hate the Anglo-Saxons.
And or just like how the monarchy is actually German.
Yeah.
Like later history, but just the way that like that kind of like you get a few layers, a few generations in between the events, and suddenly it's unrecognizable as like what actually went down.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of people that agree with us that the movie is great.
It is a fantastic movie. I love it.
So we're not alone.
I love it. I love bad movies sometimes. It's not bad. I don't think it was that bad. I thought it was kind of fun. See, that subverted like an Arthurian legend, but in a fun way.
And it did that to like that movie in that sense, like pitching it as that movie, like on paper, they both took the Arthur story and made it about kind of like street thugs and gangsters. Like they both did that technically. So it's just very, very different in tone.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we've come to the conclusion that this is a very distinct flavor. And if you like that flavor, good for you. You're going to like this.
And I think we can agree that it's not, you're not going to read it and be like, oh, this is just your regular old cookie cutter. I've seen everybody do this, but better story. Like it's unique.
It is unique. It's its own thing.
You won't have read anything like it. That we can promise.
Yeah. It's distinct is the best way to describe it.
You haven't tasted this yet ever before.
Yeah. It's like those weird ice cream flavors. Another food analogy.
I think we're both hungry.
I drink so much cold brew, like it's taking a lot just to hold still. Like, I'm just about to like go crazy because I have so much caffeine in my body. But there's this. I don't know if this. I think it's only in Los Angeles actually. No, it's in California. It's Salt and Straw, and they make all these weird flavors of like ice cream, like olive oil ice cream. And like weird flavors, and you're just like, why is this a thing? And then you eat it and you're like, you either really like it or you really hate it. Or
I feel like Ben and Jerry's is borderline that way.
Yeah. Or like a Michoacana. So like like Mexican ice cream because they make avocado ice cream, which sounds disgusting, but I love it.
Sounds great.
It's
avocados make everything better. Also, I feel like that because for me that sounds normal because like vegan chocolate mousse is often just like avocado with cocoa powder and sugar because it's got that moussey texture once you like blend it up. So to me, I'm just like, yeah, avocado is a great vegan dessert substitute.
Well, I think they use like cream in it too. Like it's like vanilla and avocado whipped up. So it's like it's a weird flavor, but I like it.
It's good to me. What I always thought was the weirdest was when I heard about the garlic festival where they have everything garlic, including garlic ice cream. And I was just like, I like garlic a lot, but
no, thank you. You've committed crimes against humanity with that.
Did you read that Guinevere book, Guinevere Deception?
I did.
By Kristen White. Did you like that one?
I didn't hate it. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. I feel like for a YA audience, they would like it more. But as an adult reader, I was like, it's all right. But I know you hated it.
I just feel like it did some weird shit too. Because like I remember reading, I was like really bored by that book, but I was all like, there's some really odd things going on here. And it just got me thinking, I'm like, what is it with people taking the Arthur story and being like, what if I did something super weird? Just stuck it in there. You're like, why is that allowed with Arthur stories?
I feel like I called this trend because in the beginning of the year, I'm like, oh, I just want Arthurian retellings. I kept saying that so much at the beginning of the year, and there's so many of them now.
There
like,
are.
Did I call this trend?
Is there one that's like the Guy Ritchie movie? Because we should read that.
I think there's just the Guy Ritchie movie. I don't know if there is one. I mean, if anyone in the comments knows, please let us know.
Because I still want to read that.
Yeah, like I read Cursed. Thomas Whelan and Frank Miller. It's a Netflix show now, and
it's all like based on like told from the perspective of Nimue.
Yeah, Nimue. Thank you for saying Nimue. It really bothers me when I hear Nimue. Like,
you see, I never read any Arthur stuff when I was a kid, so there was never any time when me as a kid mispronounced it and it stuck. Like as an adult, I heard people say Nimue, and before I ever saw it written down. So when I first saw it written down, I was like, "Is that how you spell Nimue?" Probably would have said Nimue.
Yeah, it's like weird, like Gaelic or Welsh spelling. So odd uses of vowels, but I mean that was all right. I mean, they really put a lot of production value into the physical book. Like the physical book was like, well put together, but like it's all right. I mean, it's kind of like setting itself up a little bit for failure, just because like it doesn't end well. You're seeing Nimue before she's the Lady of the Lake, so you kind of know the story's going to end with her being in a fucking lake.
Or does it?
It does. So it's like, it doesn't really have a lot of places to go. So it's kind of, I don't know, it sets itself up for not a lot of space to grow.
Yeah. Well, I do feel like with things like, maybe, I was just asking, like, why are we putting bonkers as fuck shit in Arthur stories? But it does also, like, for things like Robin Hood or King Arthur, the ones that everyone feels like, even if they don't really, they feel like they know. You're like, you got to bring something new to the table because otherwise, like, we've seen this many times. So, like, what you got to say that's new? And Lavi Tadar was like, I have so many new things to say. Like, you will recognize none of this.
Hold my beer, give me a pen. like, fine. You want something weird? I got weird. I would like a good Robin Hood retelling. I haven't really got that Guy Ritchie Robin Hood story. Like they've tried to make some, but they're not good. I want a good Robin Hood story.
Which again, I feel like it's like another one where like people are too worried about subverting it to actually tell a good story. And I'm like, how about just, tell a good Robin Hood story? Like the same with the movies. There's so many Robin Hood movies that are like doing a twist on Robin Hood. And I'm like, there isn't even one normal one to be twisting off of. You know what I mean? Like, how about make a normal one? Like, you've done so many twists.
Yeah. You know what? I would have liked a Robin Hood story somewhat similar to this. How they treated
this book
Arthur.
That you gave 1 star to?
No, like, the idea of how they treated Arthur, where he's just like a fucking idiot and like barely in the story. And there's like, yeah, this guy, he refuses to read books and he swings his sword around and he's a fucking idiot and he deals like fucking drugs. Like that's Arthur.
Yep. We haven't talked about that, but Arthur is a drug dealer in this book.
And you know what? I would like to see a Robin Hood story where he's kind of a piece of shit, but like accidentally does good stuff. And he's just like, oh, well, I guess I'm a folk hero now. Like, I would kind of want to see him be a piece of shit and blunder his way into like heroism.
Or a situation where, like, much like here, like Merlin is crafting the Arthur myth and Arthur is just holding a sword. It's like something similar where like the merry men in some way are like really behind like spreading the word about Robin Hood being a big deal, but actual Robin Hood's like never meet your heroes because he's a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, I would want to see that. Like,
yeah,
as much as I dislike the story, kind of inspired right now a good idea for a Robin Hood story that I'd actually want to read.
I think we would both like to see Joe Abercrombie write a King Arthur story and a Robin Hood story. Like, when you're done with the first Lauster, we have some new projects for you.
I don't know if I want to see him write that, though, because he's too nihilistic. I don't want so much nihilism in those stories. Just a tad. I want like a splash of nihilism, not like the whole thing.
there's some happy stuff. Abercrombie books.
Occasionally.
It usually gets shot on later, but
for the moment they're happy, and then all of a sudden, oh no, I'm fucking my brother. Sorry, spoiler alert for Little Hatred.
Well, it's a little Game of Thrones influence there.
Yeah. It sucked because like I know I shouldn't root for them, but I'm like, oh, just fuck your brother. Like,
like what's a little incest between friends?
I just like them together. I know, don't fuck your brother, but like, go fuck your brother.
Royalty do it all the time.
I want them together. Sorry. Hi, everybody. That was a little bit of a spoiler for A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. It has nothing to do with this conversation.
It's only a spoiler if you haven't read the books before it, though.
I think it's a pretty big spoiler.
Well, again, it's not a spoiler if you've read all the books that came before it. You go into A Little Hatred knowing that and being like, are they okie dokie?
Oh, that's not good. I know.
So it's a spoiler for the characters themselves. Anyway, but yeah. Back to By Force Alone.
Had a nice little incest.
Since you hated it, I'm curious about what you think about the portrayal or lack thereof of women in By Force Alone.
I wanted more out of Guinevere because she was kind of cool, and they never really like, she had a weird worm friend in her brain, and they just like never just explained it. They're just like, yep, she talks to a worm sometimes who's in the sky or in her brain. We don't know.
Have you seen Corpse Bride?
Yes.
When she's got that maggot in her head. That's what I was picturing for the Guinevere and her worm.
But I'm like, does this mean she has a mental illness? Or I don't know. I kind of liked her girl gang, and then they brought in Tristan and Isolde through that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I liked it because the women were just as like shitty as the dudes were. They were just like a female version of like a gangster crew, which I kind of dug. So I mean, women were either like Guinevere in this, or they were in orgies. There were a lot of other women,
or they were just like fey creatures, like Merlin, where they were like too not human to be.
Well, I feel like those are like the Guinevere girl gang of like mobsters, because those ones are also like little mobster fey women.
Well, like more
and they're all kind of really lusty. Yeah, really or Morgus, when she just randomly is like, Arthur, get over here and fuck me, and Arthur's like, okay. and then Mordred comes.
Ta-da!
That was actually one of the scenes that gets the 0.5, because I'm like, that was actually kind of fun, because he's just so stupid. He's like, vagina, and like pants are off, and then Merlin's like, what the fuck did you do? And he's just like, he can't stop smiling. He's just like, I don't know, I had a good time.
So, was that the one that had that really extended sword metaphor?
I don't remember.
I remember one of the sex scenes. One of the sex scenes was like the whole thing was just like talking about, which was clearly a sex scene. The whole thing was like a sword with like a sheath, and the like the whole thing was like told as a sword. And I was like, okay, we're really doing this metaphor for a long time.
It might have been that scene, because Arthur, and Arthur's is basically a sword as a human. So
because it was like made like really abundantly clear in the earlier, like, or Merlin kept being like that Arthur's never really interested in women. Like he's just like, he's like, he doesn't get it. He just wants power and he wants to hold a sword. So then it makes sense that, like, the one time he's really getting off, the whole thing's about a sword.
Yeah.
That's really his shit.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think he's necessarily asexual. He just kind of just like, no, he enjoys sex. He just doesn't really love anything more than his own sword and what it could get him. So I think he's maybe aromantic.
Except for when
he likes vaginas. he had a great time with Margus.
Yep. I guess, yeah. I like
women are either lusty or girl or a mobster in it. There's not like a lot of normal women just being normal women.
I guess fair being fair, we not we specifically, but generally speaking, there's a frequently made criticism of male authors treating women like two-dimensional characters while the men get to be three-dimensional. In this book, everybody was equally lacking in depth.
Yeah, agreed. So it wasn't like one sex or the other. So there was that.
So weirdly, for that reason, like I never, even though there was like a lot of dicks being whipped out and a lot of like that going on, and I never really felt like it was sexist because I was just like, it's doing this across the board. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like it was like being like a really like douchey manlet where like women are just objects, because I was like, literally everyone in this is like an object, like the dudes, the swords, the aliens, like it's all, none of them are like getting that depth that we would criticize of an author for withholding from female characters.
Yeah. I mean, the female characters aren't whipping out their vaginas though, so I think they got like
a little tougher to do. If your vagina's hanging out, you have a big problem.
I mean, you can just like show it to people, I guess. I mean, you can't like pull it out of your pants, but you could just like.
I mean, that's pretty much what happened with Arthur, and he went right for it. So. Yeah,
true.
And I mean, it took seeing Uther seeing Igraine once, and he was just like, fucking that. Come what may.
I don't know. The Tristan and his old story, obviously it's a different story. And they basically just like put like one paragraph in here and it's like, yep, and then they fucked off and who knows? And we spent so much time with Isolde being like this crazy bitch in the best way. I mean that in the best way. And then Tristan is just like, yeah, and then they teamed up for some crimes, like Bonnie and Clyde. They couldn't stop fucking in the kitchen, and then they just fucked off. And like, oh well, and then that's the end of their story. Tristan and Isolde, over.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? Like, in a weird way, but you know how the show Once Upon a Time, just characters who you recognize just pop in for an episode and like have their little moment, and then they fuck off again. And then the next episode we have like Mulan who shows up, and then the next episode we have Robin Hood, and like they just kind of have their little thing and then fuck off again. So like this was like the really dark, gritty version of like we had Tristan and Isolde for this one episode, and then they fucked off again.
Yeah. Wait, did Mulan show up in Once Upon a Time?
Uh-huh.
She did?
Uh-huh. And she's in love with Sleeping Beauty.
What?
She's queer.
I like that. I've never seen the show though, but I was just like, okay.
And then she teaches, Mulan teaches Merida how to fight.
Why does Merida even learn to fight? Like, doesn't she already know how to fight?
Like Merida knows how to shoot a bow and arrow, but like she wants to like properly go into combat, and so then like her dad hires Mulan to train her.
What is going on in that show?
Once Upon a Time is more crazy than By Force Alone. The family tree there is bonkers.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Lol. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I'm really bad at watching things. We all know this by now.
I mean, yeah, in fairness, Mulan shows up in like season 4 or something like that. So
I think I watched the first season as it was airing. So that was many years ago.
I was in college, I think.
Yeah. Ooh, my hair is all wonky. What is it doing? Okay.
Get back in line.
I got it cut, and they cut it too short, but I'm like, you can't put my hair back, so now it's just like it's extra like curly.
I say that every time. Whenever after they've cut it, they show you like, how is that? And I'm like, what are you gonna do if I say it's not good? Put it back.
Well, I told her 3 inches, and she cut 5 off, so I was like, it's a choice.
I always tell them like a quarter of what I want them to cut because I know they're gonna cut more.
Yeah,
I'm like cut nothing. Work from there.
Yeah, at the time I was like, fuck it, it'll grow back.
It will grow back. It's quarantine, so like few people are seeing us. Just pop it in a ponytail. I mean, I cut my own hair during quarantine because I was just like, what's the worst that can happen? It looks like shit. Great. Like, no one's going to see me. So, okay.
Internet. Your video.
True. But again, like, I feel like it's easier in a video to, like, make sure that, like, you sit in a way where, like, the part of your hair that didn't look like shit is, like, towards the camera. Whereas, like, IRL, you're, like, moving around and you're like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, I'm like constantly playing with it because it's like it's going off in weird directions. Like, look at this thing. What's this doing? Why is it doing this? Like,
it's living its best life. Be free, little bird.
Yeah, it's like
I feel like right when you cut your hair too, like your hair because it's been weighed down and now it's lighter. Your hair at first it's just like whee, like we are free.
All my natural curl is just like we've been unleashed. Yeah. To your battle stations. Let's go.
Going full Shirley Temple.
Anyway, so by Force Alone.
By Force Alone. Oh, do we want to talk about next month?
We can. So
I'm realizing I don't know.
I have the book. Okay. I brought it out. I figured I was going to discuss it. So next month, the live show will be on my channel. And you guys know what the last Saturday of October is? Motherfucking Halloween. It's gonna be a Halloween show and we're really excited. And you know what, 2020 is rough for everybody and it's Halloween and it's canceled. You can't do anything, so we know what we're gonna do. We're gonna throw ourselves a Halloween party. It's going to be an evening show, I think, starting at, we're not sure yet, a 5 or 6 o'clock Pacific time. So it's going to be an evening show. We're all going to have a socially distant Halloween party. And the book of the month is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, because it's the perfect Halloween pick. So you know what we're doing? We're having a vampire party. It's going to be great. We're going to have some special guests for our Halloween party. There's going to be other people invited. We're going to have a full-on vampire Halloween party, socially distant. So come have a Halloween party with us. It's going to be good. We're all going to dress up. I don't know if I should say Leanna's idea because it maybe it's the best as a surprise.
Oh, you can tell them. I'm excited.
Leanna's like, should I be Blade? I'm like, yes, you should be Blade. Do you need a vest? I will buy you a vest. So I'm like really invested in it.
I currently have a vest in my Amazon cart, so I'm on it.
So if you want to see Leanna be Blade,
some hair gel will need to occur to get the full Blade effect.
I have the start of a full-on foppish New Orleans interview of the vampire outfit, mainly just because I already own a corset. So
and because Lestat is a legend.
Yeah. So we are going to have a full-on vampire Halloween party in the evening time. Let's do it. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about it.
I'm super excited too. Because again, Halloween is going to be shit this year. Because what are you going to do? You can't do nothing. But nothing I can sit in front of a camera with some fangs and be Blade.
I'm fully into it. And there's going to be special guest stars, not stars, but like there's going to be some cameos. There's going to be some guests dropping in. We're working on it. We're working on it.
It's going to be a full-on Halloween party.
Yeah. It's going to be great. Grab some wine.
Vampires only.
Vampires only. I mean, at home, we're not going to know if you're dressed up like a vampire, but we'll feel it in our souls. So just go ahead.
I mean, all four of us will probably be drinking. It will be evening and there will be many spoilers. So like definitely read the book because we're just going to talk about it like you've read it. So
I mean, we have a lot of spoilers in this video today too.
Sure. But I feel like we generally we're like, well, this is what it was about. And it was pitched as this. I feel like at like 6 p.m. with some wines and some fangs, we're just going to be like, and that part though? And like, what was that? And like, you're going to need to know the context because we will not give you context.
Oh man, but like every time I drink during a group chat, I don't stop drinking because I forget how much I've drank. So I feel like by the end of our live show, our live party, it's just I'm gonna be a very drunk human with vampire fangs. Hopefully I don't swallow them. We'll find out.
Oh my god. Also, like, okay, like I've never ever worn fangs before. Like I've never done a vampire costume. and like the fangs that I found like are like adhesive, and I'm like, is whiskey gonna make it unstick? Because this could be a problem.
I have a set. No, you put the paste in it, and then like it like sticks to your teeth in a way that it forms like a seal. So like it's perfectly shaped to your tooth. So you put them in, they don't come off unless you like pull them.
But they come off.
No, they come off. They don't come off in like normal setting because it's like suction cupped to your tooth. So you have to like pop it off.
Okay. It doesn't feel like, I feel like if whiskey doesn't get it off, nothing will, and then I'm just a vampire forever.
But they come off. They just don't come off in like normal settings.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, and other people, everyone who I said mentioned this book to has enjoyed it. I haven't heard any poor reviews of it. I've only read one other book by Grady Hendrix before. Have you read anything? Mm-hmm. I read My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix.
I'm assuming it was good.
I like it. I'm not sure. I think that was a debut. I'm not sure, but I think you might like it. It's like set in the 80s.
Like Stranger Things.
Like Stranger Things, except
this one is set in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Southern Book Club?
Southern Book Club.
I think his next book will be set in the aughts, and then his book after that will be set in he's just going through the decades.
The future. But yeah, that one's in the 80s, and it's about, demon possession and friendship. Can friendship beat the devil? We'll find out. That's kind of the story.
I feel like that's a My Little Pony episode. Friendship is magic.
Kind of, but with like horrible body horror.
Friendship is witchcraft.
So it's going to be fun. Full-on vampire Halloween party. Come join us. It'll be on my channel in the evening. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be lit.
I'm hoping we both like it. We haven't really had a month where we both really like the book. I mean, Beach Read, kind of. I liked Beach Read. I didn't love it, but you loved it.
I did. And I didn't expect to.
Yeah.
So maybe, I feel like maybe Southern Book Club. That will be the one we've been building towards all this time.
Maybe.
We've gone some highs and lows, all building up to this book.
We're going to do it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to be good.
Although if we hate it, I mean, drinking and talking about it will also be fun.
We'll all see how drunk I get together. I'm hosting. I can't be that drunk, but like I know it's going to happen. So what are you going to do?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Final thoughts.
My final thoughts is it's balls to the wall bonkers, but it's my cup of bonkers. So your mileage may vary. Amanda's mileage was very different.
Yeah. Mine was broke down on the side of the road.
I was zooming by like, the
battery wasn't dead, so I could like turn on the radio. So it wasn't like a complete like horrible situation, but like I wasn't going anywhere with it.
So the book has been a food. It has been a car. It has been
we have lots and lots of analogies, but yeah.
Oh, real quick, just like as a fun thing, which cover do you think does it more justice? Like, is more accurate to like what it's actually like inside?
I don't know. I like the American cover better, but I don't feel like it's good for the book. Because the book makes it look cooler than it was for me.
But at the same time, I feel like the I think
red your cover is better for what the book actually was because there's fucking aliens in it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like your cover, like if we could combine this situation with the more aesthetic of your cover, like have it be more bloody and red, but like more aliens.
Yeah.
Combine them. Then you get it the real thing.
I think your book encapsulates the actual story we got better, but I like the American cover better in general.
Basically, they needed a different elevator pitch, though.
Yeah, it wasn't what I thought. Also, it's like blatant lines from Goodfellas. Ah!
And basically Stranger Things. So much plagiarism.
There's just like a lot. There's a lot. I mean, the references are very apparent.
If you've seen Goodfellas, which I have not.
Very good. Or read Vonnegut, then.
Which I have not.
There's two things you should do.
I'm going to be reading Vonnegut and watching Goodfellas going, this is like my voice alone. Oh.
That would fuck you up. I don't think you should do that.
It's the same way that I watch classics and go like, oh, this is like Riverdale because they did it on Riverdale. Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Oh, this is like Riverdale. That's Carrie's next for that.
I love Hedwig. And then you made me watch the Riverdale episode. And I was like,
next up is Carrie. I've never read or seen Carrie. Riverdale did a Carrie episode. It's time.
I've seen too many Carries. There's several Carrie movies. There's one really bad one from the 90s, Carrie 2, The Rage, and it's so bad.
Presumably not at all written by Stephen King, right?
No, it's really bad. It's like a full 90s horror movie, like that specific style. And I think originally it was supposed to get turned into a TV show. So the movie is very much like, this will be a TV show.
Like setting it up.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I will not be watching that.
No,
maybe I will.
Like fun bad. You're just like, oh, it's terrible. I love it.
There's like in the final, like it has to, like it's bad until it's so bad that it's good.
It flips
it's
back
like,
around to good. Yeah,
there's like a curve.
It's like a spectrum of like bad to good. It like flipped back around to good because it's so bad. Bad. Love
Well,
it.
on that note, I feel like that's what happened with my Force Alone, where I was like, this is so weird that it circled back to being good for me. I was like, I respect this. Alrighty.
Okay. So are we wrapping up?
I think we've done it.
Done it. Okay.
We did it.
Thanks everybody for coming and chatting. I don't know.
Check out next month, which will be
Vampire Party
epic.
2020.
And time will be announced. We'll figure that out.
It's 5 or 6 o'clock Pacific time. It's one of those. So just be aware.
It's happy hour time.
It's 8 or 9 o'clock New York time, East Coast time.
It's either happy hour time or straight up drinking time.
Yeah. I feel like 9 o'clock isn't too late to have a party. So we might do 6 o'clock Pacific time. Because I don't want to start my vampire party too early in the day. Because it needs to be dark out. I'm a vampire. Can't be in the sun.
Well, we'll be will we have changed the clocks back yet? We will, right?
No, November 1st. So it's happening the next day. I looked it up.
So close.
Anyway, so Vampire Party on my channel on Halloween. We're going to have a socially distant Halloween party. It's going to be really fun. And hopefully we'll both like the book.
We always hope that.
We always hope.
We shall see. All right. Well, that's it.
Okay.
Bye.